Welcome to How to Sell More. Today we are talking about social proof. What is it? Why is it so important? And honestly, why do so many business owners, entrepreneurs, sales and marketing leads, why do we all underestimate how critically vital it is to be able to convert leads into sales? I am Mark Drager. Let's get into it. So earlier this year, I turned 40. And for my 40th birthday, my wife Jacqueline got me, us, her, really, a subscription to our national theater production company. So, you know, in London, you got the West End. In New York, you got Broadway. We live in Canada. We live in the Toronto area. And so for us, we have a company called Mirvish. Mirvish is the national production company that brings all the big West End or Broadway musicals and plays to Canada. So for my 40th birthday, my wife gives me this subscription and we get to start going to these shows. So just the other day, we went out on a Sunday afternoon to go see the musical Six. Now, if I wasn't really familiar, I'm going to be honest with you, I was not familiar with this at all. Actually, it was to the point where when we showed up in the theater and we sat down and the curtain rises and the characters start coming out, I had no idea what I was in for. This show, Six, is about the 6 wives of Henry VIII, and it is like part Hamilton, part, I don't know, Queen's We Will Rock You, or like Rock of Ages, and part revisionist feminist history, let's say. There's a lot going on. But anyway, the show starts and I was like, what the heck is happening? So if you are not familiar with the play Six, like I was not familiar with the play Six, it's a British musical about the 6 wives of Henry VIII, set to like rock music. Each character gets to share their own story. Anyway, it's a thing. It's a whole thing. Once I got used to what was happening to me, I actually got into it and really enjoyed it. But at first I was a little bit thrown off by just how jazzy, I don't think is the right word. Just what I was in for. Google it if you don't know what I mean. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. And if you don't, Google it. But why I'm sharing this story is because at the end of the play, they were coming out for their curtain call, which, you know, they're bowing and we're clapping and we're blown away by the singing and the performing. Just amazing performers. Really, really, really amazing performances. 90 minutes or so without a break of just them being on stage the whole time, singing crazy songs, great choreography. Anyway, I'm getting off track. But the point was at the very end, they said, we went to sit down after the standing ovation. They said, stay on your feet. So we all stay on our feet. A theater of, you know, of hundreds and hundreds of people, maybe, I don't even know what the theater holds, maybe 1,200 people. Let me see what the theater holds. The Royal Alexander Theater, 1,200. Okay, so there's 1,200 people in this theater. They say, stay on your feet, we stay on our feet. And then they say this little thing where they say, hey, Toronto, now is the time. We are going to do one more song for you. Pull out your phones and start taking pictures and video. And so I'm like, okay. So I grab my phone and I hit record. And what they did for their encore was they each gave like a 20 or 30 second version of their entire storyline. So 6 different women, 6 different perspectives, 6 different ethnicities and music styles and stories. And they each gave like a 20 or 30 second version because they told us to record these things. They said, now's the time to record it. We're all standing there. We grab our phones. We start recording it. Why? Well, because you're not allowed to record stuff during a play. And they know what Apple knows. They know what Jonah Berger in a lot of his books like Contagious and other psychology books around marketing and psychology, they know. They take the private and make it public. They take this moment of the 1,200 of us sitting in the theater and watching this thing, and they know that if they tell us to grab our phones at the very end of this play when we are most likely to love them, because we either love them or we hate them. If we hate them, we're not on our feet. If we hate this whole play, we are not grabbing our phones. If we hate it, we're not sharing it. But some of us in the audience loved the performance. Some of us still have goosebumps because we're blown away by what we just saw. And some of us will stand when they tell us to stand, grab our phones when they tell us to grab our phones, and we start recording. So I look over, my wife's not recording. She's enjoying the moment. So I grab my phone and I start recording. And they go through and they give these little snapshots of exactly what the whole performance was. So like in something like 2 minutes, they give to the camera, they give to social media, they give to us in the audience the ability to capture this little thing. Why? Well, of course they know we're going to share it. Of course, they know that we are the most primed as an audience to love it, to share it, to be a part of it. There is no other moment leading up to that and then after it where we will ever be as in love with the play, or hate it, but as in love with the play as we are in that moment. So it's the perfect moment for them to tell us to stay standing, to grab our phones, to hit record, and start videotaping this thing. Videotaping? Do people still say that? Start recording on our phones exactly what they're doing on the stage. And when the play was done, I turned to Jacqueline and I was about to say, that was really cool. I've never been to a production where they told us to do that. And she beat me to it. She said, that was really cool how they told us to do this. And it's because the production company knows that if they want to get the word out there about this musical, and they don't have the ad budget to be able to just throw out tons of ads in every single place that they're visiting, every single city, wherever they're taking the show, they know that some people will love it. Some people will grab their phones. Some people will share it on social media. And so they take the last few minutes of their entire production, their entire show, the entire experience, and it's no longer about them, and it's not even about us. They turn those last few minutes into a commercial. They start to perform for the people who haven't seen the show. They start to perform for my friends and family who might see the video on social media and might go, I wonder what that is. That seems really cool. And so the directors, the producers, whoever put this together knew strategically that would be a great play. And I don't see other people doing this. I don't see other plays doing this. I don't see other productions doing it. I don't see at the end of my favorite, stage play, Les Miserables, I don't see Jean Valjean coming out from the dead. He's just visited as a ghost with everyone else and they're waving a flag and there's this big ending and curtain call and they're, bowing. They don't say, and now guys, pull out your phones because now there's a time to be able to record this. They're not doing that. And this is amazing because this is social proof, right? It's not a client case study. It's not a testimonial. It's not really anything other than the more shows that they do and the more people like me who liked it and pulled out our phone and hit record and then start to share things online, just the more organic reach they get, the more awareness goes out, the more people can see that, oh, Mark went to this. His wife, Jacqueline, went to this. 1,200 other people on a Sunday afternoon matinee went to this in Toronto. And so it got me thinking about our businesses. It got me thinking about social proof and the importance of social proof. And it got me thinking about the perfect moment when we could be asking our customers, just like the producers of the stage play 6 asked the audience at the perfect moment to pull out our phones and hit record because we are most likely to do it and we are the most amped up and the most in love with them. It got me thinking about our businesses. And so let's get strategic here. Like, I've been using the term social proof quite a bit, but what really is social proof? Well, it's testimonials, it's case studies, it's photos. In the world of marketing and B2B and other things like that, in the world of marketing and sales, it's all of those things, but so much more, because really social proof is actually a psychological phenomena where people assume that because other people have taken actions on certain things and they've made certain decisions, that I can then trust them. What does that mean? Well, if I'm doing research about buying, let's say, a new truck. Gosh, I haven't talked about this before, but my daughter, who's 17, a few weeks ago, got in a bit of a fender bender with my truck. And so luckily we're getting it fixed through insurance, but I haven't had my truck for a few weeks. It's been at the repair shop. And I thought maybe I'd have to buy a new one. So I started doing research on a truck. Now, I could look at Dodge and I could look at Ford and Toyota and Nissan and Chevy and all of the different places. I could look at reviews, but I know everybody's being paid for those things. But if I go into a forum like Reddit, or if I go somewhere and I start to ask people and I see that enough real people have made a certain decision, right? Earlier I was looking, or a few weeks ago, I was looking at, should I move from Ram to Toyota? And so I found a forum where a lot of people moved from Ram to Toyota or Toyota to Ram to the Tundra, and they were looking into it and they were talking about it. Now, I don't know if Toyota's in that forum. I don't know if they're paying people for the comments, if they're paying people to host the forum, or Dodge or whomever it might be. But because I didn't think it was a commercial and I saw enough people had made the move from Ram to Toyota to Ram or what have you, That made me feel like it wouldn't be a stupid thing for me to do. It gave me trust. I was trusting the social proof. I was trusting the fact that enough people had done the research and enough people had worked through it, enough people had done it successfully that maybe it could be right for me. Or vice versa, not right for me. This is something that travel people use all the time, right? If you go to Travelocity, if you look at Expedia reviews, if you are planning a big trip or visiting a resort, and you go to the comment sections or you look at the review sections, that is social proof. You are seeing who, like you, made decisions like you, what the outcomes of those decisions were, how that company handled it, and what have you. Now, social proof, meaning reviews, testimonials, just photos of clients with a name underneath, just to say someone who kind of looks like me, or maybe even sounds like me has done this, or videos, or whatever it might be, is critical for sales and marketing and is often underappreciated by business owners. They just don't realize how vitally important it is for all of us to see that other people like us have made decisions and they were good decisions. They didn't come out looking like an idiot. And so this is why it really matters, though, because social proof will help you with trust building. So especially on digital marketing, but often our customers and consumers are often bombarded with ads or other promotional messages. So the social proof acts as a credibility enhancer, actually. The second thing it does is it will influence decision making. So being able to see others who have invested in products or services, who've done it before, as I said, who did not come out on the other side looking like idiots, it can sway potential customers and the decisions that they make. So if a product or a service has thousands of positive reviews, it's obviously going to have more credibility than something without any reviews or even kind of wishy-washy reviews. And so in that example, it's super clear where you're like, well, how do I get thousands of reviews? Let's say that you're running a really complex consultancy that does really complex things. Like you might say, like, how do I get all these reviews? It's not about all of the reviews, because if you have 0 testimonials, 0 case studies, 0 social proof, then just anything is even better than that. Anything will help you. The next thing it creates a sense of urgency. Because when a product is really popular or it is perceived to be in high demand, it can actually create a little bit of FOMO, a little bit of fear of missing out, and it can push potential customers to make a purchasing decision sooner. And then, of course, the last thing is it enhances your brand image. Because the more social proof you display, especially if these are really credible people, why do books, for example, have quotes on the jacket or the sleeve? Why do companies pay so much money to influencers? And we can talk about whether influencer marketing actually works or not. But why are they putting so much money behind these influencers? Heck, as a company, why here at Sales Loop, my agency, are we sponsoring Rand Fishkin and Spark Toro's event in November? It's because each one of these things helps lift the credibility of your brand. For people who see you, they go, oh, wow, okay, these people must know what they're talking about if they have all of these names behind them. And if you have amazing names and amazing brands, it's awesome. But if you don't, you can just overwhelm people with sheer numbers. You know, often you go to a website and you see 1 or 2 testimonials, and then you can go to ClickFunnels or something, and there's like 40 of them. I've gone to pages where literally the website says, I do this. And then if you scroll down, it's nothing but social proof. It's like 85 people saying how awesome you are. They don't even explain their philosophy or their systems or their processes or their benefits or their features or anything. They just go, we do this. And then here's, 85 people who you can see have hired me to do this. That will build a lot of trust. It'll enhance your brand image. Now, here's a question for you. Why are so many business owners or entrepreneurs or marketing and sales leads, why are they afraid to do this? Why do they undervalue it? Or why do they not share these stories that naturally come their way anyway? A client emails you and says, oh my goodness, amazing job, amazing team. This is the greatest. And yet you won't go public with it. Well, there's a few reasons. Maybe this is you, maybe not. But there is a fear of negative feedback, right? Like, well, what if I only ask for stuff and people tell me what they really think? That doesn't feel good. That doesn't sound good. But the truth is that no product, no service is perfect. And so business owners often feel that they're going to be exposing their brand to public scrutiny, and it might give you negative feedback or criticism. But truthfully, if you address these things head on, then you actually come out looking more respectful, more honorable, and frankly, you're going to learn more things about your business. You might think it's amazing, and you might find that there's areas you can improve. Now, the second thing, which people kind of get a little bit uncomfortable with, is the idea of over-promising and under-delivering. I mean, we're taught from day one, under-promise, over-deliver, under-promise, over-deliver. Well, if I make these big, bold claims, if I have Sally from Kansas coming on the screen saying I'm in the world and then I don't live up to it, oh gosh, that's terrible, right? I mean, maybe you're afraid of that. Some businesses might be concerned. You might be concerned about setting such high expectations through this positive social proof that you may not be able to meet it for every customer. Ooh, that's tough. Another is lack of control. What if we start to encourage users to provide feedback or share their experiences, and then somehow we shift the tables, we turn the tables, and we suddenly give all these people control, and now our business can't dictate the narrative of the story or what people are saying. I remember we did all of this work for a massive company. So this was a financial, how would I say it? It's a company, it's an investment company who had about $450 billion under management. A pretty big company, $500 billion under management. And I used to have conversations with them, and they would say things like, we're looking to engage more with the public. We want more engagement. But what they meant was they wanted more people to hear what they had to say. They were not very interested in hearing what the public had to say. Right? Engagement to them meant the more we share, we want more people to comment, or agree with. That was their version of engagement, not engagement in terms of we're going to say our thing, you're going to say your thing. We're going to respond to your thing, and we'll go back and forth, and we'll treat each other equally. And so, quite honestly, sometimes people fear the idea of giving up control, because as soon as you do that, as soon as you look for true engagement, you are now on equal footing with the person you're engaging with. Another fear is that sometimes people think that it's insincere. If I'm going to go out to the world and ask for all these positive things from all these positive people, surely, it's just BS. Well, I would say that we have control to also share some hard truths. So if we go back to some earlier things about overpromising, under-delivering, fear of negative feedback, lack of control, the more you give up and the more you're just willing to be true, the actual more power other people get, but at the same time, the more credit you are given for being honorable and true and facing up to that. So those are some reasons why people might not want to go into it, but there are really a few things we can do to overcome that. So first of all, understand that some will, some won't, so what? That's something a business coach told me in the very first year I started my company. I was 23 years old. It's 2006. I'm on the verge of bankruptcy. My wife's at home with no money because she's not working. My daughter is a few months old. We're really struggling to get by. And the first lesson I had about sales was some will, some won't, so what? Get over it. And so I go back to the story about 6. I'm standing in the audience there. I'm busy clapping along because by the end of this, they won me over. The weirdness of the musical and the play won me over. I really got into it. I enjoyed it. I will say that. I liked it. How about that? And so by the end, I'm standing. I'm giving them a standing ovation. I'm clapping along. When they tell me not to sit down, I'm not going to sit down. When they tell me to pull out my phone, I pull out my phone. When they tell me to record, I record. Then I send it to my wife, and she's the one who shared it on social media, not me. But still, I did all of those things. But the dude beside me, who was in his mid-80s, he wasn't having any of that stuff. He barely clapped. I don't think he really wanted to stand up at the end. There was no way that the guy beside me was pulling out a cell phone for social proof. Not happening. Even if he was 40 years younger, with his attitude and kind of the body language and what I got, he was not into this. He was not having any of it. So some will, some won't. So what? Does it mean that they don't ask? Does it mean that they don't prompt it? Does it mean that they don't do all of the work that they're about to do to create these amazing social proof moments? No, it's more tailored for me or people like me, and it's not tailored for the 85-year-old dude beside me. Cool. And so the strategy to overcome these fears is just to realize that you can throw it out there. You can ask. There's nothing wrong with asking. And the more transparent you are, the more you encourage genuine feedback and actually accept that feedback and learn from it and get better, the more willing people are to give this to you. And frankly, wouldn't you rather know? Of course, if something absolutely horrendous has taken place, if you have completely failed the customer on every level, then I hope you're having these conversations to make things right with them privately. And then maybe at the end, there's an opportunity for them to say, like, you guys screwed up royalty, but you stepped up and you came back and you did what you had to do and you won me over by the end. And so you need to know some will, some won't. So what? You need to embrace transparency. You need to look for genuine feedback. You can use tools and platforms to make this happen. You can educate and train your staff to do it more than anything else. But here's what I've learned, having worked on thousands of projects with hundreds of companies over 17 or so years. In my experience, whatever you think is the right amount of social proof, testimonials, case studies, photos and names, social media clips, whatever it is, whatever you think is the right amount, you need to triple that. If you think that being more polished will help you better, you need to get things that are less polished. If you think things are really short and less polished is the way to go, you need to drop in a few more polished case studies. Whatever it is that you think is good enough, it is not. That's what I'm trying to say. And you need to go more, and you need to go deeper, and you need to have more variety. And I want to give you just a few quick tips on how to do this, because I have found in my experience, having worked with all of these different business owners and all of these different companies, and even for my own firm, that there's a way we can go about this that not only makes it easy, but actually removes a lot of the fears that we might have. So here's the first. Number one, think like Six. Remember Six. Remember this play. They picked the moment that we are most likely to, they didn't ask us to do this before the play started. They didn't ask us to do it after the play ended and we were walking out and there's no energy, no mojo or nothing. No, they picked the moment right at the very end where they could do this little performance for social media to get the word out there. So think about your customer experience, your customer journey. When they are working with you, when they are purchasing from you, when they are moving through this, what is the moment that they are the most likely to be blown away? When is the moment that they have the highest perceived value of what you do? When is the moment that they are most connected to you? Think about that moment. And then ask yourself, is there something that you can do to be able to pull out of them how they feel and what they think? There is. There are tools that can help you do this. Bonjoro, which is like a video messaging app that I actually use. They just launched a new testimonial feature where you can send people scripts and testimonials and collect stuff. I don't even do any of that stuff. Here's what I do. If someone has given me a referral, what a high form of praise, right? If someone's referred me, let's say that you referred me to your friend Jim. I'm going to reach out to you on a video call, on some kind of thing, and I'm going to say, hey, you've referred me to Jim. That is amazing. Thank you so much. And when you referred me to Jim, I'm going to just hit record real quick if you don't mind, but I have a few questions for you. Why did you refer me to Jim? Why? Now, if you were to introduce me to Jim, what would you say to Jim? Why does Jim need to meet me? And I ask these types of questions because if I asked you this and you're on camera with me and I'm hitting record or whatever, why did you refer me to Jim? You're going to say something like, well, you know what, Jim's this type of person with this type of business, and I just know that you can help him because of blah, 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 blah. Okay, and how did you describe to Jim what we do and why you moved ahead with it? Why move ahead to talk to us? Well, I believe in this and I believe in that and this, and I'm going to tell you this works really well because you're not asking for a testimonial, you're not asking for a quote, you're not asking for a line, you're asking, if you were to introduce me to Jim again, if you were to introduce me to someone else, how would you do this and what would you say? And you turn your customer into a salesperson on your behalf, and they shift their language. They shift their language into an introductory language, and they pull out of themselves, in their own words, the key benefits and the areas that they find most valuable. And this is extremely powerful. This is the same strategy we use when we are working through a brand strategy process with our clients. And we're doing research for prospects, for clients, for past customers, whomever it might be. We tend to reach out to people and learn more about the companies who have hired us for a brand strategy process. And we ask these type of questions because I want to know in their words, I want to know what they value, and I want to know how they would introduce us and what they would say. Now, a lot of people get this wrong. A lot of people don't say the things that you want them to say. They don't say it the way you want them to say it, and they don't seem to slip in every single benefit and feature you were hoping that the customer would learn. And that is what makes it so powerful. Because the people who are not you will not say everything you want them to say. They will not say it in the way you want them to say it. They will not slip every single feature and benefit into it. And that's what makes it authentic. That's what makes it real. That's why social proof works. We trust these things we see, these things we read, these things we hear, because they're not manipulated in that way. They only give a little window, a little fraction. They touch on a few things that you would never have thought of to say in a way you would never have said it, but it's real. And that is powerful. And so to wrap up this episode, let's hit the 3-point roundup. Number 1, if you are working with cold traffic, cold audiences, cold leads, anyone who's not already in love with you, you must include social proof. Number 2, social proof does not have to be testimonials. It can be case studies. It can be testimonials. It can be third-party articles. It can be something from Harvard Business Review or research or science. It can be any form of credibility. And you can send that cold traffic or the cold audiences or those cold leads and get them to a place where they can see all this social proof. It will help your close rate. And number 3, you must make the invisible visible. The reason Apple has the Apple logo on the front of their laptops is because they wanted everyone to know. Steve Jobs wanted everyone to know that was an Apple product. The reason why originally the iPhone earbuds were white with the white cables was because at the time, all of the headphones and earbuds were all black cables or black. They went white because then at a certain point, if you're on the subway, if you're on the train, if you're walking around and you see someone with those white cables, you knew immediately it was an iPhone. And at 6, this performance I was at the very end, they took what was invisible, those who only paid for a ticket to sit in that room, and they made it visible by having us record it and share it on social. So think about your business, think about your processes, think about your culture, think about your employees, think about everything that you do, all of those little parts of your business that are amazing and yet hidden for anyone who has not had the privilege to work through your process. Make the invisible visible. And with that, I want to thank you for listening to another episode. If you would like to learn more about us, you could head over to salesloopbrand.com or over on Instagram. You can follow us. Our handle is @salesloopbrand. Now, if you've made it this far into the podcast, you really should subscribe. And here's why. Every week, I share practical strategies and tips just like these to supercharge your business growth and to boost sales. I want to thank you for listening. I am Mark Drager, and we'll catch you in the next episode.